AI, it's such a big topic right now, right? You either embrace it or you're kind of left in the back of the pack, right?
Oh, yeah.
Freight doesn't move in silos, and neither should the conversation. Welcome to The Freight Table, a monthly podcast from the Intermodal Association of North America, connecting data, government affairs, and voices from across the intermodal supply chain. This is your pulse on what's changing now and what to watch next, where intermodal comes together.
Good morning, Chris O'Hay. How are you today?
I am well, David. How are you?
I am well. Thank you for joining me here in this conversation this morning, here at the business meeting in New Orleans. I appreciate you taking a few minutes out. I know you're a busy man. Not only are you the chair of the Maintenance and Repair Committee for IANA, but you also are incredibly busy with Medlog drayage. And so I appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk about this project you've been working with us on around AI. And being a subject matter expert. I really appreciate it. And I want you to take a minute and tell me what you've been up to. And I know that you've also had some AI activities at Medlog. I'd love to hear about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me, David. Very glad to be here. And, I'm very thankful to IANA for giving me the opportunity to chair the M&R committee. I think it's for a third year now. So love the work that we've done and the support that IANA has given us. Just really happy to be here. Christopher O'Hay, Medlog USA. My current role is Vice President of Maintenance and Operational Finance. And, we're a drayage logistics company. We are owned by Mediterranean Shipping Company, which is where I started my career. I will be in this industry 30 years.
Wow.
And it's been a ride and I've learned a lot. And I say this now, I used to be the young guy in the industry so now I'm tipping on 30 years. So it's been very, very fruitful for me working with IANA and the work that we've done and the people that we've met.
Absolutely.
That is the work and the people, The networking side of it is fantastic. I've met people that I actually now do business with, right? So it really has been a great experience. I'm really happy to be involved here. And AI, it's such a big topic right now, right? You either embrace it or you're kind of left in the back of the pack, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, we've been doing a lot of experimentation at Medlog with AI and really focusing, efficiencies, right?
Mm-hmm.
That word comes to mind a lot, right? What can AI provide in efficiency? So, we're really working on a lot of like data migration, data mining, validation, things like that on my side of the work. I handle a lot of back office finance and our maintenance and procurement, and I'm experimenting with this AI and merging files together and pulling data together. And what would take me hours to, do VLOOKUPs and put into pivot tables now takes me minutes, right?
Yeah.
And the data that it spits out is so fruitful, and especially like on the M&R side, right? I pulled some data about all our M&R expenses year to date, right? What vendors we paid, what locations, and I can share that with my regional vice presidents who oversee the operations, with the terminal managers, with the dispatchers, with our local, yard managers and things like that. And we can see where our money is going, which is a real important thing in this current climate.
Mm-hmm.
We are seeing, extremely depressed rates. Mm-hmm. Expenses are high, especially on the M&R side, right? There's labor shortages, tariffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Parts cost more.
Yeah.
Mechanics cost more to pay. So our service calls and our service charges. And, like every other company, we have budgets, right? And we have to make sure that we stay in line with our margins and our budgets. So I've embraced the AI, and I've been given the opportunity by my company to have a, full access license, and I use it for everything to managing my emails, scheduling meetings. And again, back to the data. Data is big, right? Especially in my current role. I'm a cost center, right? I have to give people visibility to what my costs are. And, we have to give our operations teams visibility to that to say, okay, we're spending too much money. We need a solution, right? And that AI piece gives us visibility to that data in minutes that then we can, push out to our terminals and say, okay, guys, we have a problem. What are we doing? Mm-hmm. So again, it's really provided some efficiencies. And again, this is only the beginning stage of something.
Right.
So we are fully on board with it. as a company, we are fully embracing the idea of AI. And again, back to that efficiency. You'll hear that a lot. I think a lot of people are looking at it and really have that philosophy. How can we be more efficient?
I think that's phenomenal that you have the ability to do all that, because I think really, like you just said, it's the tip of the iceberg. I mean, because especially when it comes to M&R, because you can start saying, okay, this is where we're spending our money and this is who we're spending our money with. How can we start maybe not having to spend all that money? Let's look at what's going on before the fact.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? What are we not doing that could prevent some of this? And so you really start backing up and saying, how do we start really looking at that whole chain of event? And you've got the data to show what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And you can pull that out. And I think it's pretty amazing. So
absolutely is.
I want to pivot to the projects you've been working on, where we're looking at the 4 pillars of AI and using it kind of across the supply chain, which is something that I think is absolutely fascinating, because so many people, as you just described, you're using it on the back end right now. But it's like, now, how do we take it and start using it on the front end, where we actually look at the movement of freight, and how can AI assist in kind of smoothing out that whole process and make it more efficient for everyone, not just for the drayage, but for the rail, for how do we do it for the pickups and the drop-offs and all of that. And I think that's a really fascinating component, because it elevates the technology and kind of how everyone can be singing off the same hymnal, so to speak.
Sure.
Because everyone has the same data. Everyone has the same information and understands kind of we're all on one sheet, and that helps the supply chain move to its maximum. So what are your thoughts on how do we get there? And are we, is that a possibility? What are your thoughts?
Listen, I think there's endless possibilities when it comes to AI. And working on this project, and I remember talking to Chris and saying, okay, what would you like from me? I'm not an AI expert, right? So first we had to define, on this project, what each of our roles were, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, me on the drayage side, right, brings that, sort of operational experience, right? And then you look at the life cycle of how things move. And then it comes to, okay, so we have this data and we have AI. How do we use it to, again, make us more efficient, right? So a big part of the drayage side is planning, right? Mm-hmm. It's what do you have coming in each week that you have to move from point A to point B, or sometimes point A to point B to point C, right? Mm-hmm. And then how do you dump that into your daily operations and make sure, do you have sufficient capacity, right? Is the container available? What type of chassis does it have to move on? I talk a lot in containers because I've always been on the international side, although we do work with, a lot of domestic as well. So, but my mind always goes to international containers. But there's a lot of complexities there, right? Yeah. With containers and chassis. Do you have to, is the steamship line paying for the chassis? Are you using one of your private chassis, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have to look at your contractor/driver capacity. Do you have that capacity to move that particular volume to that particular location on the day that the customer wants it? So, we kind of taking a step back, right? Large customers. We ask, can you give us an on the water report, right? Which means, what do you have in transit coming to us, right? Or an on the rail report, right? Mm-hmm. If it's an inland location, right? And how do we dump that data into our transportation management system? And how do we use AI to track and trace that, to give us visibility as to, okay, when is that going to be available to us to move? And then that goes into, our planning, our daily capacity. So there's a lot more that goes into, okay, you're a trucker, you just deliver the box. No, but is it customs cleared? Right? Mm-hmm. Is it freight released? Right? Are there any other holds on it? Right? All that particular information. So, we have a pretty robust transportation management system that has some AI capabilities. And, a lot of that stuff is a la carte, right? Mm-hmm. So, you have the basic transportation management system package, and then you add what you need. So we are working with our TMS, right? And then our own internal systems as to how we can merge all that together through AI, right? To make us more efficient, right? Because the more efficient we are, the more freight we can move, the more revenue we generate, right? And, and really, this is better for our margins and our budget.
It is, and it's better for your customers.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that was my next thing. My customers and our drivers, our contractors.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Everyone is being used more efficiently.
Yeah, they want to be paid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their expenses have gone up,
yes.
right? So,
yes.
The price of a truck has gone up.
Mm-hmm.
The price of maintenance on their truck has gone up. The price of parts, the price of insurance has gone up. Not only for, us as a drayage carrier, but, our drivers and contractors.
Absolutely.
So, with that said, the rates have kind of slid back even to pre-COVID levels, right? So we're operating a bit on higher margins, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, that efficiency needs to be there, right?
Yeah.
If we have a day where we're supposed to deliver 10 loans, we only deliver 4. Well, we lost out on revenue.
Absolutely.
So did our contracts. And maybe we didn't provide the greatest service to our customer.
Exactly.
Right?
Right.
So without customers, without drivers, without contractors, none of us would be where we're at. So really it's driving those efficiencies. But, a big question that a lot of us are out there asking is, okay, we know what we have. How do we infuse that into our daily activities?
Right.
Because you have all this data. Well, you can do this and you can do that, right? But how do you make it all come together and work to drive that efficiency?
Right.
And we talked a little bit about that on the project, right?
Yeah.
Because again, I'm not an AI expert, right? But I'm an operational drayage expert. Maybe
yes, you're an expert. You get to claim that.
So that's the thing. And, if we're looking at, this study and trying to give people ideas like, I need a better system or I need to utilize AI, we have to be able to provide some sort of guidebook to say, okay, you have this, you can use it like this, right? And I think it's a very simple question, but it's a very important question.
Yes.
Right? And then, the other side of it is there's a cost for that, right? But that's each individual business's
Correct.
decision
Correct.
as to how deeply they wish to invest, in this particular space.
Mm-hmm. And I think that really goes to what IANA is all about, because we are really looking at providing that framework to say, this is, and I think this project really having us subject matter experts from each one of the modes, as well as, supplier technology, coming in and saying, we're not here to tell you how to do it, but we're saying, here's a framework that we can see. And again, we're all working in uncharted territory. So it's kind of like, this is where we are today. This is what we have in the toolbox, and this is where we think we're going. But the great thing about it is that you all are going to continue this work with hopefully the assistance of a lot more of our members to really start having those bigger conversations to say, what about this? What about this? And I know you talked about international containers, and I know there's a big difference between domestic movements and containers and the international movements. And it's like, so, we haven't even started on that road yet. But I think there's so much potential. You're looking at your systems. And when you look at your systems and you get them to a spot where you're feeling good about how your visibility and your efficiencies, then you can really start looking at beyond your shore and start working with your partners to say, look, we've got this. Let me show you what we're doing. Yeah. And how can we help you help us? I mean, it's really, that's what it comes down to, is because when that container gets moved to you, to your part of the supply chain, then it's yours. You've got to make it move efficiently. Yep. It's up to you. And it's the interchange point that everything needs to be smoothed out. And I just think I think this whole project is really illuminating.
No, it really is. And there are just basic functionalities during the day that are so manually labor intensive, right? I need appointments for 30 containers out of a specific location, or I have 30 empties coming back. Where do I need to return them? Can I get appointments? Are they accepting empties that day? And, we're looking at, developing AI agents, right? To perform those particular tasks. And so we can make, again, our people more efficient, right? And deal with the problems. On a daily basis, you have, depending on the size of your terminal, you have contractors calling, I have a problem. I have a flat tire. I'm running late. I got stuck in traffic, right? And those are the things you need, that person-to-person interaction, right?
Correct.
So
Yes.
on the other side of it, if we can take out the manual, labor that has to go into some of these, they're important, but I say menial tasks because it really is
more
right?
routine.
Yeah.
More,
Yes. And that's a great word for it, more routine tasks, right? To deal with the other issues, right? So, there's so many different parts of, the four pillars of AI, and there's, scrubbing the data. There's just building so that it actually performs an action for you, right? So it's been a great learning experience for me as I go through this journey and embrace the AI. Learned a lot from the team. Yeah, I think it's very important in this current day and age that we all embrace it, we learn about it, and we provide, education and resources for people to make decisions for their own specific business.
Chris, you could not have said it better. I really appreciate your time today. And I look forward to continuing this conversation as we move down this AI journey.
Absolutely. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Chris.